Welcome to the Spiritual Sag Podcast, everybody. I am your host, Eric Schultz, and I want to start this pilot episode with a story that I hope can give some insight to people. Now, this isn't anything I read, nor was it something that was preached to me. This is something that I experienced firsthand. Now, spoiler alert, there will be some episodes where I refer to how certain lessons pertain to the real world that we live in today. And before you give me this, you just hallucinated, blah, 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 please, just stop. Stop before you think of saying that, and just listen. I'll preface my experience with a story. In 2003 or 2004, I don't know, I was about 12 or 13 at the time. I was so sad that a certain 80s actor had died. I'm not going to name any names, but his brother is still alive and doing well in the industry as an actor. That's all I'm saying. In the middle of the night, I don't know what I saw, but it was an angel. I assure you that. And it was him. He told me not to worry about his death, and I don't recall the whole interaction, to be honest. But that is important for this episode. I honestly did not know whether or not that it was something I just imagined, but I saw it with my own two eyes. I didn't think I was going to see him again. Well, I was wrong. Because in the summer of 2005, I had a huge seizure that changed my life forever. I remember that time. Not very clearly, but I remember what happened sometime before that. I signed up for football camp, and I was just so ready to get things started and reunite with my friends, but unfortunately, that did not happen because something happened that would change my life and living circumstances forever. As I said earlier, it was a seizure. I had a huge seizure. And it wasn't your average seizure. I have grand mal seizures, and they occasionally happen. So it's not very easy to treat because they're not at high frequencies, nor are they like normal frequencies. So they're occasional, and that really complicates things for doctors. But I digress. And these grand mal seizures, they're like legitimate lightning storms in the brain, and the seizure lasted for a few minutes, which is pretty fatal, to be honest. It's, at least for my circumstances, they were fatal. Now, I don't remember exactly how long but it was long enough to literally fry my brain and turn my life upside down. I was put in a coma and cardiac arrest for about 4 to 5 days. And in the midst of that, I reunited with my guardian up there. What also made it extra special was that I reunited with my 15-year-old golden retriever. I really missed that dog. I didn't get to see him being put down and cremated. I didn't want to because I knew that was going to haunt me forever if I witnessed that. And while I was up there, I was sitting down with my guardian, and I remember talking to him, and he said, and I quote, "It's not your time yet. You have so much to offer, so much love to give and share, and so much to learn. It's not your time yet. It's just not your time yet." I may be missing or mixing up a line or two, but that's the premise of our discussion. It was not my time. Another thing he taught me while I was up there was that everybody is like a chain. Now, you might be asking, Eric, what are you talking about? What does that have to do with what you were talking about in this episode thus far? Well, think of it. We all are part of a chain. We are all links to people we have in our lives. That includes acquaintances, friends, family, teachers, doctors, everybody that has entered your life. They're all part of you, and you are all part of them. So if I went down that day with my seizure, had I died, everybody would basically be going down with me. So sometime when no one was at home and I was all by myself, I decided to take the butcher knife and put the tip onto my chest, right where my heart is. I just wanted to end the torture. I was tired of it. I felt that was my only means of escape. And even though I was in a position to follow through with it, I just couldn't. Something inside me just would not let me. Some vital force. And it goes back to what I said earlier, where we're all links to a chain. If I went down, I'm bringing everybody down with me. Now, I mean, sure, you can try to relink the chain by replacing it, but you know it will never be the same. For example, if you have a dog and you raise it from a puppy and it dies early from something, or someone kills it, or it goes missing, is it going to be the same if you got a new pup? I guarantee you it will not. Nothing replaces you nor your values. Every one of you, audience, are here for a purpose. If you did not have a purpose, you would not be alive. Which transitions to another time I had a near fatal seizure. I had another seizure when I was 21, similar to the one when I was 14. I'm not sure about the cardiac arrest stuff again, but thankfully it wasn't as bad as the one when I was 14. Because, or it may have been because my folks did say, yeah, it was just as bad, if not worse. But I don't think so, because I did not need to go to rehabilitation and attend multiple therapies again. God, that process was just painful. But I was once again reunited with my guardian, and he told me something extremely important. This too may also be in a future episode. He said, it's not how you die, it's what you do while you are still alive. I think I should mention that time really slows down when you're up there. Now, that saying, that quote, is important because it finally explained the tears of my area of heaven. So, if I took my life during the times I considered thrusting the knife into my heart, I would have taken a life. My own. And I probably would have gone down a tier. Which is the reason why I didn't fall through with it in the first place. Because I was taught and saw that heaven, my area of heaven at least, had tears. Now, I do want to mention I saw a girl on TV. It was on 60 Minutes or something like that. And she explained her version of heaven. It was green. It was like a meadow with grassy fields. I hope I'm remembering it correctly. But it hit me. As much as people want to claim that heaven is only one area where it's... But it hit me. As much as people want to claim that heaven is only one area where it is gold and angels, like where I was, it made me realize heaven is more of... It's more of its own country. Possibly its own planet. I do not recall if I was told this, but something inside me said that every soul goes to the part of heaven that suits them the best and makes them the happiest. Again, I'm sure you people are thinking I'm crazy, but I saw and I experienced this. But back to my area of heaven. As I stated earlier, my area of heaven has tiers. It has 3, actually. And every tier is a tier of purity. You had the pure souls up on top, the ones who mean and do well. They are students, but they are also teachers to the bottom tier people to help raise the people, to help raise people go up to the top where they are. They want everybody to be better. The middle tier were the souls that did horrible things, but they were not so bad enough to go to the bottom tier, which is basically this area of the heavens. It's hell. And logically speaking in those terms, I would imagine in the bottom tier souls, if you kept messing up, you would be eliminated, because it may be sort of this 3 strikes and you're out concept. That's right. Even heaven has its own hell. I never thought that it was possible, but it's its own world up there. And it was not up until recently I realized those were temporary tiers. Not everybody is on the bottom tier forever. That is why we are reincarnated. We are reincarnated to redeem ourselves, to enhance and purify our souls, to seek perfection. And that's what makes a pure soul, the search for perfection. Always acknowledging that you have polishing off to do because you are not perfect. And I will tell you this, everybody, we are not meant to be perfect. No one is perfect. If we were perfect, there would be no need to seek improvement and better ourselves as beings. What happens to the souls in the lower tiers, you might ask? Well, again, if you take life for granted and you feel like you need no improvement, then you lower a tier and possibly at some point your soul will be terminated. Or possibly not, but I'll get that into a future episode. Possibly the following one, since I want to do a Q&A from the comments section for any clarification. I will cover the differences between angelical souls and demonic souls after the Q&A episode. So I'll do a lesson episode, and then I'll have the next one be a Q&A episode. But back to these lessons. One of the things I was told I will forever hold dear is, it doesn't matter how you die. It matters what you do while you're still alive. Which reverts back to the tier system, as I mentioned. This made me not fear death as much. In fact, it made me value life even more. And I remember posting something on Facebook stating, if I were to choose between living a second or a year, I would choose the second because anything could happen. Many people who saw that status did not understand the meaning of it, but I was basically trying to say, value every second of your life. Treat it as it's your last. And I don't mean that in a sense that you should be panicking and time is running out or whatever. It was more about valuing life and making sure that if you were to pass in the next second, to make sure you have had an uplifting impact in others' lives. You should always try to be a positive reinforcement on others. Not only does that make others happy, but ultimately, it makes you happy in the long run. I might revert back to this in a future episode. It might be its own episode, actually. There are some lessons here that I want to dig deeper because I just want to clarify on some things. But I want people, including you, audience, to keep what I'm about to say extremely close to your heart. Everybody has expectations of you. And I'm sure you have your own expectations of yourself. But expectations are not always met because of certain capabilities and sometimes health limitations. Ever since those massive seizures, I've never been able to remember things as clearly as I used to prior to that. I've never had the same focus. I've never been able to physically push myself to extreme limits. I would I would collapse from a seizure if I did. My thought process seems to be stuck at about 17 to 19 years old because the injuries set me back a long ways. I'm extremely dependent as of now, along with many other limits I have to deal with and limitations on what they along with other limits I have to deal with. I can empathize with many people whose health conditions have basically dictate. I can empathize with many whose health conditions I can empathize with many people whose health conditions have basically dictated their actions and limitations on what they can do with their lives. So everybody listening to this, I ask of you, be the best you can possibly be. Don't cater to people's expectations. You should always do what's best for yourself. We all have limitations. We all have someone who is less or more talented than we are. We all have done others and ourselves wrong in some way, shape, or form. But those are soul growing pains. If you have your own expectations, you want to do and be better because you are doing your best to be happy. And I will say that not everybody's ceilings are equally high. Some people need to improve, and that is what we are all here for. But a happy soul is a pure and strong soul. And you might be asking yourself, how do I strengthen and purify my soul? Or something along those lines. Well, let me put it to you this way. Every living being is meant to be flawed in some way, shape, or form. That's why there is no such thing as perfection. Because if everybody was perfect, there would be no strive to be better, making the purpose of life useless. So if we acknowledge our flaws, we will start to understand and better ourselves as people and as a society. We need to see the plant as a body. The atom needs to be improving itself and doing its part, and the more the atoms do such, they create a functioning cell. Those functioning cells create organs, and those functioning organs create healthy life forms. Everybody needs to see their flaws and help themselves improve spiritually. And that is done by doing good deeds and being a positive life force on others. And there are people who have disabilities that are not able to do their part 100% or even at all. So we need to help lift those people. Trust me, helping lift people up is very rewarding, and it will make you a lot happier and feel a lot more complete and accomplished. Why? Because you are helping teach people who do not live the most stable lifestyle to be happy. You're teaching them happiness. Everybody needs to be happy. And don't you dare mix happiness with gratification. They are not the same thing. Anyways, we also need to understand that if everyone was happy and love is what people promoted, I mean, let's face it. Yes, the world would be free, but it would also be boring. You know that if something is boring, it's peaceful, which means boredom is a good thing. It means that you're free from negativity. Let me ask you this, everybody. Do you want a peaceful world where everybody is here to help, where everybody is there to help each other, but it's boring and we all know the routines? Or do you want an entertaining world where people live lives of misery? Me personally, I prefer to be predictable and bored knowing that I could eternally be happy. Positive vibes and music bring unity. And everyone needs that. They need some form of positive force in their lives to help discover themselves and improve their spirit and conscience. If we are able to do that, only then will we be able not just to live together, but uplift each other and strengthen and purify our souls to angelic status, to help the ones who need help lifting their souls and help them find themselves and be happy. A happy soul is a peaceful soul, the strongest and purest type of soul in existence. Thank you very much for listening. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section, and if I have enough, I will do a Q&A in the next episode, which I will do every other episode to cover the recent story. I will also have a PayPal link in the description. Please donate. I'd be so grateful if you help me out, please. Thank you again, everybody. I am Eric Schultz, also known as the Spiritual Sage. Love thyself, cherish thy spirit.